Welcome to NP Certification Q&A, presented by Fitzgerald Health Education Associates. This podcast is for NP students studying to pass their NP certification exam. Getting to the correct test answers means breaking down the exam questions themselves. Expert Fitzgerald faculty clinicians share their knowledge and experience to help you dissect the anatomy of a test question so you can better understand how to arrive at the correct test answer. So, if you're ready, let's jump right in.
Renee is a 27-year-old female who has come to group therapy while incarcerated in the city jail. She was arrested for vagrancy because she was sleeping in her car. She could not post bail and was sentenced to 14 days in jail. During group, she contributes that none of this is her fault. Her mother is totally evil because she would not let Alexa stay in the family home. She has some other family, but they are all jerks because they won't help her. Alexa's friend Melanie is the absolute best person in the world, but she can't help because her boss fired her for no reason at all. Alexa has a history of arrests for buying illegal drugs and for prostitution. The last time she was in jail, her sentence was extended for 30 days because she got into a fight with another inmate and beat her up so badly she had to be admitted to the hospital for 6 days. The psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner considers which of the following personality disorders? A, histrionic, B, narcissistic, C, borderline, or D, schizoid. So the best answer to this question is C, borderline. While there is definitely some overlap among personality disorders and even among personality disorders among different clusters, C is the best answer here. Renee's presentation is most consistent with borderline personality disorder. These behaviors, the behaviors described here, are most consistent with borderline personality. Histrionic personalities are often extreme, they are flamboyant, they are sexually aggressive, but they don't typically have this pattern of law-breaking or incarceration. The histrionic patient, they love to be the center of attention, they need to be the center of attention, they need everyone to be looking at them, but you wouldn't expect a histrionic patient to be sleeping in the car. You wouldn't expect them typically to wind up with their behavior rising to the level of incarceration. They're just not that extreme. They are extreme, flamboyant, and sexually aggressive, but not to the extent that they wind up sleeping in a car, engaged in prostitution, or arrested. Narcissistic personality disorders are not characterized by splitting behaviors. As you go back to this question, remember, as Renee is describing her family and her friends, her family are either, totally awful. Remember, her mother is totally evil because she wouldn't let her stay in the home. Her other family are all jerks because they won't help her. But her friend is the absolute best person. When you see those sorts of extremes, that's referred to as splitting. And that really is not characteristic of the narcissistic personality. The narcissistic personality really is characterized primarily by that grandiose sense of self-importance. That's the dominant feature. You don't see this discussion of extremes. And then finally, the schizoid personality. This really is not descriptive of a schizoid personality at all. Remember, schizoid personalities, this is a cluster A personality disorder. Schizoid personalities tend to be very, very aloof and withdrawn. They are not prone to extremes of emotion at all. In fact, they really are not prone to interaction with people at all. The schizoid personality really just doesn't appear to have any interest in any relationship with humans, even their own family for the most part. They just tend to be very much loners. So schizoid, choice D is an easy dismiss here. A, B, and C are all cluster B personality disorders, and they genuinely do share some features, and there are often patients that have features of both. But what really teases Renee out here as the borderline in this question is the splitting, the extremes. People are either all horrible, evil jerks, or the best person in the whole world, That's a classic phenomenon. And the business of buying illegal drugs and being arrested for prostitution, that's also characteristic just of the extremes that you see with borderlines. Not that all borderlines are prostitutes or buy illegal drugs, but the extremes of that extreme of behavior is more consistent with the borderline. And the fight with the other inmate. Borderline personalities are notorious for their extremes of emotional outburst, and many times it can become just very dramatic and even very physical. And in a correctional facility, it certainly will wind up extending your stay for a little bit. So are there features of histrionics and narcissism here? Perhaps, but clearly the best answer to the question is C, borderline personality disorder.
Thank you for listening to NP Certification Q&A, presented by Fitzgerald Health Education Associates. Please rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast. And for more NP resources, visit FHEA.com.